at the end of the day, it's not about where you're at, it's about where you start. And that's the part that's most important. Just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Yes.
Stop thinking it's unrealistic, it's unattainable, and start thinking
Just
that
go
you
after
can and you will.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome to another episode of
Books and Booze.
I am Kristen.
I'm Leilani.
And we created this podcast to take you on a journey with us of literature
And libation.
favorite thing. So, and we want to just introduce to you kind of what we do when we're having fun.
Yes.
One of the many things, right? Do we go to the pool? Do we travel? Absolutely.
All of the above.
But sometimes we enjoy just a great dialogue in each other's company.
Exactly. So you guys get a little sneak peek of what it's like when we clock out and say, hey,
Pour me a drink.
Yeah, pour me a drink. Let's talk about some great books and
Yeah.
just have great conversation.
Absolutely. So this month for August, we are featuring the State House Gin from High Bank Distillery up in Columbus, Ohio. So thank you so much,
Yes.
Sarah and Sean, for introducing us to High Bank Distillery. And it's amazing. I mean, they have incredible food and incredible spirits. This is the second spirit
Yes.
from High Bank that we've been enjoying.
Yes.
And what I'm really excited about for High Bank is they are actually going to be opening a third location in Columbus. So they had Grandview as their first one, and then they opened a second one in Gahanna, and now they're going to be opening another one. I can't remember where offhand, but it's coming.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's so
Good for
exciting
you
for them that
guys.
they're growing like that and supported. I mean, Columbus supports local like almost no other city that I've seen. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited when we can take you up there. But the other thing I like about High Bank Journey is Jordan Hellman, who is one of the co-founders. There's four of them. But Jordan, he said in an interview that he knew since he was 12 years old that he wanted to have his own business.
That's
And I'm
amazing.
like, I can't wait to actually like talk to him, next podcast. Yeah. Be nice. Yeah. I'm sure we'll do another High Bank Spirit at some point. But yeah, Jordan, we'd love to talk to you and your boys and get to know more about you and, this journey you've been on since you were 12. And he does warn, incoming entrepreneurs that it's going to be hard work the first few years,
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that it's worth it if you believe in it.
Believe in it and have a plan.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to our plan. This book.
Yes. So the book that we are featuring this month is The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. I'm sorry. Timothy Ferriss.
It's gin. Let's have some. We totally forgot to.
Yeah, we forgot to.
We're ready. Although we've been.
Yeah, guys, this is the second episode we did. The last week was the first one.
But we're recording them together.
We are.
Because of what's going on in our personal lives. So
yes.
We talk about pre-gaming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So
Timothy Ferriss.
Yes, Timothy Ferriss.
Oh, that's good.
And one of the reasons why we chose this book for the month of August in particular is that summer is one of those periods in the year where people, and in our case, entrepreneurs tend to overwork themselves. It's longer days. The sun doesn't set until around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And so typically you tend to be so hyper-focused on finishing a goal that you set for yourself in either January or February. So you're just overworking yourself with these longer days. And so we kind of thought it would be a great way of aligning this book with the month of August, which is dead middle of summer, and just kind of reminding you, hey, it's okay to delegate out. It's all right to be more efficient with your time. And it's okay to say, let me take a break here and there, or burnout is real and you will definitely get burned out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So he has kind of an acronym for really the body of his book. And today we kind of want to dig into you with the first part of it, D. And he spells D.E.A.L. He spells the word deal.
Yeah, deal.
And D stands for definition. So basically, he's really helping you get in the mindset of what this new rich mindset is and defining what it is that you want and what you are going to accept and tolerate at this point.
Yeah.
And he starts this chapter out Sorry, this is so good. And it's refreshing.
It is really
Watermelon. We
good.
did watermelon and mint with
Yeah.
the gin. I know
No,
we didn't
so
sometimes we
good.
introduce what we're drinking.
We
Yeah.
just kinda skip right
Yeah, we
into
sure
it.
did.
It's a watermelon drink that
Mhm.
Kristen came up with. Is absolutely delicious.
We froze little watermelon wedges.
Uh-huh.
It's good.
Uh-huh.
It's so hot outside. Timothy starts out in the beginning part of this chapter or set of chapters around definition, where he really breaks down the difference in mindset between those he calls the deferred. And I wonder if that's really maybe where you and I are coming from in our generation. I think
Yeah.
Timothy's younger than us,
Yeah, he went and he separated it. He said there's the deferred and then there's the
the
new
new rich.
rich.
Right.
And pretty much the deferred is someone who is deferring gratification for
Until later in
later.
life, right?
Okay.
Work
And
hard, play
yes.
later.
And there's so many books out there that tell you, I mean, even there's IQ tests that come out there and then they test kids when they're little. And they say kids that have a higher IQ tend to defer their gratification until later. And then kids that have a lower IQ tend to be more erratic or spontaneous, or impulsive, and they take gratification
Interesting.
early. Yes,
Interesting.
yes. I'll pull up the, just remind me, I'll pull up
Okay.
the research and we'll pin it in the comment below
Oh
so
my
you can see.
goodness.
And so
Hmm.
what ends up happening is even with these articles that come out, they're telling you, okay, deferring gratification is smarter, right? And so that's where he comes and he talks about there's a deferred mindset and then there's a new rich mindset. And the new rich mindset really dives into, hey, it's okay for you to have moments of gratification in between
Bursts of
goals
work and yeah.
or your focus periods and stuff like that. So he's really kind of turning the tables and saying the new rich mindset is saying, no, you don't need to defer
Wait.
gratification for
Yeah. You
later.
plan for it.
You can plan for it and you
Hmm.
can indulge in it in specific periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I love that he does is he kind of takes you through several, and I only brought up a few, but there's several ways that he points out what the deferred mindset is versus the new rich.
Hmm.
Again, he's helping you understand the shift that may need to happen if you want to go after
Yeah.
the 4-hour work week,
Yeah.
and a more fluid time schedule. So he talks about, the deferred may want to work for themselves,
Yeah.
whereas the new rich, their ultimate goal is maybe to have others work for them.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? The deferred wanna work when they want to.
Hmm.
The new rich want to prevent work for work's sake, and he really digs into this over the next few chapters,
Yeah.
just doing busy work because you're supposed to work for 8 hours a day.
And diving into, well, later on, that's another chapter, but he talks about Parkinson's law. And
Mhm.
um I I brought this up in our previous episode, which is really ironic, is that he's already talking about the new rich way of thinking, that new rich movement, and it really took hold after the pandemic. I really
Oh,
feel
absolutely.
the way most of this generation, and it's not, it extends beyond this generation. It's moved
Completely.
up to
Sure.
other generations. They're starting to have a new rich,
Mentality and
yeah,
approach to
approach
things.
to things, the way they work, what they value, what they're prioritizing. So I just find it funny that he was already calling it back in 2007.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I think what happened with COVID especially is people that had dedicated their lives, literally their lives, to a specific organization were suddenly laid off because that's what corporations had to do
Yeah,
to
but that's not the
sustain.
first time that that's happened. I mean, it happened in 2008 where a bunch of
That's true.
corporations
Yes.
laid a bunch of people off. But I think the added card to this, I can't think of another metaphor, but let's just say the added ingredient to the layoffs this time in 2008, when we went through the recession, a bunch of people were laid off, and once they got their jobs back, they felt a sense of, oh my god, thank goodness I got my job back, and they were
Mhm.
happy and they
But not after
appreciated it and they were
COVID.
grateful and everything.
Nobody wanted to go back to the office.
But in COVID, that was the difference,
Uh-huh.
is they were laid off, everyone was laid off, and then you had everyone's lives subsidized. And
Mm.
so they got a taste of what it's like to be able to be home with their families, to be able to enjoy their moments. And there's it's funny
Control their
because there's
time.
two different sides to that. You had a bunch of people that went home and had a bunch of babies, and you had a bunch of people who got divorced. So it was like kind of a, it was just
It was a
funny.
crazy time.
It was a crazy
It
time,
was the
but
best of times.
but
It was the worst of
but what ended up
times.
happening, there was a paradigm shift in the mindset of
Absolutely.
folks, and you either you either appreciated you were back to work, but most took on this mindset, which was the
Yes.
new rich, saying we prioritize
Ourselves now.
ourselves now.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're not here just for busy work. We want to make sure that the work that we're doing means something. And for the amount of time we're going to be doing something, that it has to be efficient and effective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like his his last two. He says um, the deferred tend to attempt to try to retire young or early,
Hmm.
right? Because they're going to work hard, work hard, work hard, and save as much and be ready to play the last half of their, whatever. But he says the new rich want to distribute recovery and adventure periods throughout life.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of thought of that. I feel like I've always been of the mindset, like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to retire. Like, I enjoy certain aspects of working. Now that we have Sage, I don't see myself retiring.
I don't either. I don't either. But I think there has to be, and this is where we talk about the difference of thinking, right? I understand that the deferred is looking at trying to retire as fast as
Mhm.
possible because they are delaying their gratification. And the new rich is saying, well, let me go ahead and stagnate my gratification throughout my life period. So that way I'm not waiting till I'm old and decrepit to enjoy my money, right? I get that. However, there is a nuance to that type of thinking because without the proper education financially and without the proper education up here, bad decisions can be made until the point you are decrepit, you have no money, and you're not able to
You're
work.
not in a good place for retirement then.
And that makes
That's dangerous.
yeah, that makes the perfect poo-poo
Exactly.
storm.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the part where I'm like, okay, if you're going to do what he's talking about in this book, you need to educate yourself first on some other things,
And yeah.
on financial basics
Mhm.
and having another mindset. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to say, oh yeah, I got $3,000 in the bank. Let's go to Fiji. No, only do that if you've got another, I don't know, $30,000 stored somewhere
Mhm.
else in your
Mhm.
savings account. Because the thing is, you're not
Or automated income that is gonna constantly replenish that 3,000 in
there
the
are,
bank. Yes.
and he talks about some
Mhm.
tips and tricks in here,
Yep.
but he doesn't really pinpoint that, and that's why I'm saying it. I'm not telling you you cannot go on trips. I'm not saying you can't go and have a great time.
Just be
Intermittent
really planful.
Yeah, just be very cautious of,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be first class flights. It doesn't need to be Fiji. It just needs to be somewhere that's a little bit maybe more cost effective. And the
Mhm.
goal,
The ultimate
the
goal. Yeah.
ultimate goal is to make sure your mindset is where it needs to be so you can
Can't do
be
this.
efficient,
Yep. Yep.
and
Yes.
effective with your time.
Absolutely. And so he then goes deeper into his, description of D is for definition. And one of his headers is that rules that change rules. So there's a few subheaders that he has here. Everything popular is wrong.
Hmm.
And this is where he goes into the explanation of how he won his kickbox. So at one point we went through his pathology, last episode, and he had just he dropped out of college for a while. He tried to open those gyms in Taiwan, but then he landed up just coming back to America, learning kickboxing,
Uh-huh.
and then winning a championship 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
Because what he did is he found basically loopholes in the system. So those rules that were in place, he found workarounds around them,
Yeah.
such as, when weigh-in is versus when he could get on into the ring.
Yeah.
He kind of bulked up after weigh-in so that he had an advantage of weight over his opponent. Also, what was considered a knockout fight without
Yeah.
actually having to hit someone, like getting them out of the ring.
Mm.
So he figured out how to do those, and so he then had a strategy in place that won him the national championship.
Yeah. I mean, so when he pointed that out, I was kind of like, Okay, are you cheating the system?"
Right.
I mean, for everyone who's trying to work within the correct parameters and you just found the loophole. So building on that, he was saying, okay, if I want to be middleweight, I need to weigh, or lightweight, I need to weigh
Mhm.
under so many pounds. So what he would do is he'd go on this insane diet that would make him lose like 20 pounds of
Yep.
water weight, right? So that way at
He weighed
weigh-in,
in. Yep.
he weighed lightweight, right? And then right after weigh-in, he would bulk the crap out of himself. So that way he would be like 20
20
or
or
30
30
pounds
pounds. Yep.
more
Than
at
his
the
opponent.
actual fight,
Right.
right? So that's step one. Step two is where he went in and said, oh, okay, well, if I make this guy go out of bounds 3 different times, I can technically win the fight and he can get a TKO, which is technical knockout.
Knockout. Yeah.
And so that's exactly how he won his gold medal, is that he went and worked those two things to his advantage.
Yep.
Now, to anyone listening to this is probably like, well, he just cheated, right? And then to anyone else who's thinking differently, we're like, well, shit. Shoot. He actually figured out a way of working the system
Yep.
into to his advantage.
And I think that's a good preface for the rest of the book because he really does have you think differently depending on, especially as an employee
Yeah.
of where you're working. So you almost have to understand that this mindset is he actually was within the rules.
He was
He was. He just,
technically,
yes. But
technically,
yes,
he was
but you're
within the
right. Some people
rules.
are going to listen, are going to hear this and read this and be like, yeah, he cheated, but he, he
He didn't.
didn't.
He really
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, the rules were written in order to have some sort of guideline for this particular sport. And he found a way of making sure that this sport worked in, or those guidelines worked to his advantage
Yep.
in the sport. It's not saying this doesn't happen every single day. I guess, again, this goes into where I think a little bit differently. You, I don't believe you can do this in every facet of your life.
No, no.
If you do this in every single facet of your life, something will come up. And maybe this is just a limiting belief I have, but I believe that if you go and try and cheat the system every single time, there are repercussions to that, and it could be spiritually and physically. And so I don't know if I align with that 100%. Now, are there instances where you might have to work the regulations to your advantage in order for you to accomplish that end goal you're looking for? Yes.
Well, let me be scandalous here and let's talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad and
Uh-huh.
his like the whole taxation concept of how those who drive wealth have learned how to find the loopholes in taxation systems. The taxation system was set up
Yeah.
and now unfortunately it tends to be the middle class and low class that gets penalized the most and feels the brunt because those that have figured out how to keep their wealth working for them have found the
You're
loopholes.
100% right.
So
You're
it's almost a
100%.
similar mindset.
It is,
Scandalous as it
but
is.
where's the balance? I guess that's where
Mhm.
I go and say, where's the balance? If guys, you can agree with me or disagree with me, but for the most part, if you're going in and you're using the tax loopholes, um, in order for your personal advantage and or your business's advantages, I would hope whatever advantages that you are gaining from this, you are using that to go ahead and help others,
Mhm.
right? So whether that's employing more people, giving back to a foundation, or just taking that money and building a business further in
Mhm.
order to employ more
Employ
people,
others. Sure.
okay? Then
And
I
I
can say,
honestly, that's what Timothy has done
so when he did the whole kickboxing thing, he went and he used those loopholes to his
to
advantage
win the
to
championship.
win the
Yep.
champion. I
Yep.
don't see any balance in any way he could have given back to the community and helped out his own team,
Mhm.
really. There I didn't see
He won to
anywhere.
win.
Yeah, there was a balance, and
Yep.
I'm using these loopholes for this purpose, but I can give back on this purpose. It was
To
complete self-gratification.
absolutely.
Now, is it a limiting belief that I have that type? Yeah, probably. And that's the part where, you have these limiting beliefs and you have to decide whether or not they're advantageous for you or not. And for
Mhm.
me, I believe in balance. So if I'm going to take any steps, if I'm going to do any shortcuts,
Mhm.
loopholes, whatever, it's because the greater outcome is going to benefit not just myself, but my community or my loved ones or
Sure.
somewhere else. There has to be a balance. That's my belief.
Of course.
And that's why this book has a little friction
Little sure.
for me.
Yes.
What he did there was a little bit, it had a little bit of a conflict in how my moral belief system is.
I found this book also kind of triggered what I deal with when trying to have a manager in one generation, typically an older, maybe a boomer
Mhm.
or Gen X, and then you have a younger
Yeah.
employee who has decided the value of
Yeah.
their time. And like these situations where the boss is like, hey, I need you, can you stay a little extra to help? And, the employee is going to be like, sure, but I'm going to get overtime, right?
Yeah, they're looking for compensation of their
For
time.
their time
Yeah.
beyond what they were scheduled, not
Mhm.
where they're not being asked to do this within their scheduled time. And it's this interesting battle right
Yeah.
now because of how one generation perceives how you should work and how the incoming professional generation perceives how they should protect themselves. And I think there's something that was lost between the boomer generation and Gen X on protecting ourselves to some extent
To some extent, but
because
I
we were raised to
yeah.
go and work hard, go above and beyond, and those are all really great principles. You should always work honestly and work hard. But I think where Timothy gets into here is he tries to help you think how to work efficiently and effectively too. And that, I mean, know that gets into another chapter, but like his next subpoint is challenging the status quo,
Mhm.
which I know we've said that before, challenging the status quo versus being stupid.
I like how you said that,
I do.
challenging the status quo versus being stupid,
So
yeah.
and he gives the example of, he had to make all these calls. Well, instead of sitting for 8 hours a day making cold calls and secretaries are the front before or the virtual
Yeah.
assistants are in front of these CEOs and executives, he figured out how to get them on the phone before their secretaries clocked
Clock
in.
in. Uh-huh.
So he would make calls from 8:30 to 9, and then from 6 to 6:30 he would get more appointments booked or sales in than his constituents who were working that 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. So again, there's a methodology to thinking
But
outside of, but
I
that wasn't necessarily hurting
yeah, but
or
I think that falls into the category of just thinking create
create it creatively. Yeah,
creatively.
sure.
Yeah. You're
You notice
thinking
we refilled our drinks.
yeah.
It was a
Thinking
magic drink.
creatively. I mean, he found another loophole to the system, but it's not really a loophole. He
Mhm.
just found there was a gap and he learned how to fill it. And so he's like, "Well, I want to obtain this certain objective," and I figured out, okay, well, let me just call a half hour before they clock in, and a half hour after they clock in, and or clock out, and I'll meet my numbers again. Self gratification. However, it was for a greater good because if he's gaining more sales, it's more sales for the company. The company's doing. I mean, again, I there is a very different approach to thinking. I get that. How I look at it from my lens could be different than the way you look at it from your lens, how you look at it from your
It will
lens,
be. Yeah.
and it will be.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just sharing with
Yes, we
you.
should. That's what I love about these. That's what I love about our conversations,
Yeah, this
especially when we're like 5 in,
yeah.
6. What is it, 6?
I don't know. Good one though. But it is about just having a difference of opinion
Mhm.
and this is my
Mhm.
opinion of what he was doing, the difference between
Sure.
gaming the sport and figuring out how he could do better and get better results in his
Well, so
job.
you're a business owner.
Mhm.
Let's go back to when he was hired to clean. He was
Okay.
showed what to do in his 6 or 8-hour shift,
Yeah.
everything he was supposed to do, and he basically found a more efficient way to do it, but
Mhm.
spent the rest of the 6 hours he was scheduled.
Not acceptable for me.
Okay, so if he finished the job you
Mhm.
hired him to do,
Yeah.
and you told him, "Okay, I'm gonna hire you to work 6 hours on this day to do this checklist."
Yeah. When I'm going to hire someone, I have a list of roles and responsibilities that I'm asking or I'm thinking that needs or I want to have accomplished for this particular job. And in my head, I'm calculating, oh, well, and based on data that has happened from previous
Mhm.
people,
It should take
I'm
this long.
estimating it should take about this long.
Okay.
So you go and you put out a role here. Now, I understand that everyone does their jobs a little bit differently, and
Okay.
you're going to come across that one person who does their job maybe quicker than the other
Sure.
person, right? So you have two options. Either you can go ahead and get that person and delegate more responsibilities to them and pay them a little bit more, because now you're delegating more responsibilities to
I like
them
that you added that, because a lot of
outside of.
places don't do that.
No, I don't work that way. I
Okay.
understand. I'm estimating it this way. If you do
Mhm.
your job more efficiently, I'll pay you more to give you more responsibilities, or you promote them because they've already figured out that they're able to.
There's a better system.
They figured out a better
Mhm.
system, which means their mind works a different way that could function in another role in your
Mhm.
company. Okay.
And I think that's why you
But I
are
would never leave them there looking at magazines.
right.
That part is unacceptable only because if you're doing it, then you are giving that
You're giving
um
somebody else almost permission.
permission, and
Yeah.
that person is not as efficient as you are. So what's actually happening is a detriment to the company
I
in total.
You're totally right. But I
So,
appreciate that you, one, recognized, okay, if they are that much more effective,
mhm.
let me pay them more because they're going to get more done.
Yeah.
Or I love that, promote them.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's that, make sure that they can actually lead, because some
Yeah.
people are incredible executors, but not great leaders
Yes.
and
For a
inspirers. Yeah.
promotion, and I want to clarify, a
Mhm.
promotion doesn't mean a managerial role. A promotion could be in other department, because if they've already established that they have a different mindset, if their brain works in another fashion that suits a different department, then you move them to that department. Doesn't mean they have to be in a leadership role. And yes, there's a vast difference. Just because someone's able to do their job more efficiently does not mean they need to be over there leading other people.
That's true.
It is a very important skill talent
Mhm.
needed in
To
order
lead
to
others.
lead
Yeah,
others. Yes.
absolutely. And now what I like is when he gets into what, at this point he has graduated and now he's teaching things at Princeton.
Mhm.
I like the snippet that we read where 1 year he brings in about 20 students, and he's really helping them think about how they approach things and mindset, and he encourages them to reach out to one of several ultra famous, super successful, wealthy, untouchable people,
Uh-huh.
and if anybody can get these individuals to answer a few like a question, like he had several questions. So I think his students got to pick a question and get an answer, that he would buy them a round trip ticket to anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that first year, 20 students, all phenomenally smart, very capable, nobody would do it. They all came up with excuses.
Mhm.
Oh, I have to write a paper. Oh, they probably won't even answer me. When he approached them with the mindset that doing the unrealistic is easier than doing the realistic,
Mhm.
but he challenged them with that and then posed the same thing. I think he actually had 4 students
Yeah.
who made it. And these were like high, like top of the top. Like I think he
This is
said
Ivy
J-Lo,
League.
Bill Clinton, like these were people like and, but what he takes people through in the mindset is that people assume that they're incapable of achieving great things. Therefore, they just settle for mediocrity versus having the mindset of, you know what, maybe it's a little lonely at the top. We're all just human. We could all achieve greatness. Let me reach out to this person. And I think I'm even guilty of it too. You know, we're starting this podcast, we're on this journey, and I'm like, I want to get to a certain point before I reach out to
So and
so
so.
and so. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
No, just do it.
let's just send him an email.
Doesn't it sound very familiar to people who say they're going to start a business versus the ones that actually do?
Mm-hmm.
It's unachievable, because you can look at my success or Kristen's success and say, "Oh my god, I can never get there," but we all started somewhere. I
Absolutely.
started on my dining room table, and so did Kristen. So at the end of the day, it's not about where you're at, it's about where you start. And that's the part that's most important. Just
Just
start.
start.
Just start.
Yes.
Stop thinking it's unrealistic, it's unattainable, and start thinking
Just
that
go
you
after it.
can and you will
Mhm.
achieve whatever it is that you're looking for. Yeah.
Now, what I like in his all of the chapters is he puts these Q&A moments in there.
Yeah.
And I think the ones especially under D were really thought provoking, especially when you're looking at starting your own business or
Mhm.
figuring out how to truly take maybe your side hustle or your hobby
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like a game-changing business, right? He says, "How has being realistic or responsible kept you from the life you want?"
Oh, geez. Wow.
So, but I think this hints on how he viewed his decisions with the kickboxing,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
decisions for, when to call these executives.
Yeah.
Like, there's a life he wants. So if he has to fall within the status
Oh,
quo, he's going to be hurted,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes. No, he's absolutely right.
Oh.
There's been a ton of times, and I'm pretty sure you can
Mhm.
relate, that you've stopped yourself because,
I'm crippling myself with my
yeah,
own mindset, my
yeah,
own
yeah,
limitations. I'm wanting to fall into conformity. Like he said, like what's popular is not necessarily right or is
yeah,
not right. What's popular is wrong, he says.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. How has doing what you should resulted in subpar experiences or regret for not having done something else?
So I, it's a little rough. I know
It's
I
rough.
have moments of, especially with subpar, because I'm so worried about, like, we hadn't started. I'd never been on YouTube until we started this, because I was so worried about how I was going to be viewed.
Judged and
And
yeah.
judged, and
Yep.
people are going to judge me, until you just do it, and you're like, it is what it is, and
Mhm.
this is me, and not everyone's going to agree with me, and I have to be okay with that,
Yep.
right? Um, but to be honest, there's been a lot of experiences in my life where I just didn't really give a crap. I just did it,
Well, good.
and those are the ones that brought the most fruit. You see, the time when I went, I just said, "Well, I'm going to do it because I want to do it. I'm sorry if you don't agree with it, but it is what it is. I'm okay with it." And do it are the ones that panned out the best for
Interesting.
me.
Interesting. Um, look at what you're doing in the look at what you're doing and ask yourself, what would happen if I did the opposite of people around me?
Well, we're doing it now. How's it going for you?
I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm loving it. Absolutely. Oh, this one was a good thought provoker. If you were fired from your job today, so maybe not necessarily you with, having our own business, but I guess I'll tell you, those of you wanting to start your own business, but just not sure if you're ready to take the jump. If you were fired from your job today, what would you do to get things under control financially?
Good one.
Well, I mean, you had your origin story.
That's a good one.
You were,
Coupon.
yep.
So I got laid off in 2008, and I was in the middle of the recession. I mean, there was phone calls that had to be made. So if you get laid off, the first thing you do is going to call every one of your creditors. You're going to go and call your mortgage company. You're going to make some calls to all your utilities and let them know
Mhm.
what's going on and get your ducks in a row, right? But really, it's just becoming aware of your situation. Most people, when something happens, they go in a hole and they put their head in the
Mhm.
dirt and they
Mhm.
hide and just
I've been
say,
guilty of that.
yeah, you just
Sure.
say, I don't want to deal with it right now."
Mhm.
When really, when something like that happens to you,
That's the time to step up.
it's not time to be brave.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
time to be brave and put it in front of you. What are the challenges that you're going to be coming across? So that way you can make a plan. It might not be the best plan. You might not know exactly what to do, even with all the challenges laid out in front of you, but you won't be caught off guard and you won't be surprised.
You know what I wonder?
Hmm.
I wonder if those championships in kickboxing won him money. And keep in mind, he just left Taiwan because his gyms that he tried to open.
Very possibly.
So he was trying to be I don't know. This wasn't written into the book,
Yeah.
but you think about what do you need to do
Yeah, it could
to
have
be
been him being
financial.
very
So
resourceful and creative, and how he was going to bring some sort of income to bridge him to his next endeavor.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done that. I've joined multiple MLMs thinking that would be some sort of income in order to get me to where I wanted to be and bridge the gap, right? Didn't work out, but hey, it was worth a shot and I learned a
You learned a
lot.
lot, right?
I actually am very appreciative. I didn't make a ton of money in them, but I'm very appreciative of the lessons that were learned in them.
I think we learn our most in things that are difficult, challenging, or even the things that don't land up working out is the best
The
lessons.
best lessons, and I
Sure.
think the best part about it is when you can acknowledge those are the best
Mhm.
lessons,
And
because
learn from it.
and learn from it. A
Hmm.
lot of people wanna say failure, but it's not. They're experiences and lessons.
One of his other questions, what are you putting off because of fear?
Mm, interesting. Yeah.
And I just think, where are you at in your journey? Like, this is Books, Booze, and Business. I would think you're listening into this either because we are just so fun and entertaining, or there's something in you that wants that business savvy, or you're ready to start your own business, and or you're ready to grow your own business. So, what is holding you? What are you scared of that's holding you back?
Yeah.
And I think that that's especially to the entrepreneur because What's preventing you from taking that step?
Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that? I love this. I love that he does these questions, and he has so many really great ones in there. I'm going to end our podcast with this one. What would you do if there was absolutely no way that you could fail?
Yeah. Sky's the limit.
The sky is the limit. And I think it is for everybody, but we have these limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
and it's like his first year group of students at Princeton.
Yeah.
They didn't call Bill Clinton or they didn't call J-Lo.
Yeah. Confidence is gained over lessons and experiences, right? But if you
And
decide
mindset.
if you decide to stay in your home and you decide to stay in your cave, you'll never be able to expose yourself to those lessons and experiences that are needed in order for you to grow.
Yep. This was a good chapter.
Was one.
A lot in this, like, I see what you mean. The friction in this.
Yeah, there is
it's
friction.
true. But he's a different generation from us writing this. I would be curious, somebody else in his generation reading this, do they find it a little bit of friction?
Yeah. Comment below.
Let's see. All right, y'all. This was, and we're just getting started. We're only on D.
I know.
We got E.A.L. to go. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And please, we're glad that you're on this journey with us. We are working on growing our community, growing our tribe. And if you're watching this, you're part of our tribe.
Yes.
So it helps us so much out when you like and subscribe, of course. But it's the sharing piece that really ignites this for us. So we're asking, please share, whether you share this, to your, friends, family, individuals, but share also in comments. Like, we want to know, what other books would you like us to read? What other, small, individual spirit companies that we could
give
try.
us some
We'll find
ideas.
them out, just say,
Just
hey.
share what you liked, what you
Yes.
didn't like. I really like how you pointed out the small distilleries that are out there, because I did have a difficult time. We have a difficult time finding the small distilleries to give them a shout out, because they're hidden.
They're hidden. Yeah.
And the big factories want them hidden. So hey, come on, bring them to light.
Yep.
Give us some names.
And we're going to try them and share them.
Yes.
So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. You know what? Why don't you grab a good book
and get some great booze
and get an amazing buddy to share it with.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
y'all. Thank you. See you
Bye.
next week. Ready? It's hot. All right. Hey, y'all.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to another episode of Books and Booze.
We didn't do it together.
What was that?
She jumped the guys.
You guys broke me.
It was horrible.